The alarms rang through the station, red lights flashing in every corridor as Daniel tried to keep his balance against the shaking floor. He had been sent here as one of Earth's scientists, a representative for peace talks, but nothing about this mission felt peaceful anymore. The alien vessel they were on had taken damage in a sudden asteroid strike, and now the human delegation was cut off from escape. The only way forward was into the living quarters of the alien species that had sworn they were biologically incompatible with humans. Lyra stood there when the doors slid open, her tall frame tense, her silver skin shimmering under the red emergency lights. She looked at Daniel as if he was carrying a disease. Her voice was sharp, each word carrying the weight of disgust. "Our biology isn't compatible," she said. "You step closer, and you risk killing us both." Daniel swallowed hard, but didn't step back. "Then, I guess we're both in trouble, because this section is sealed. If we don't work together, neither of us gets out alive." She folded her arms across her chest, her long fingers twitching like claws, ready to strike. Humans think they can adapt to everything, but not this. Our air, our food, even our microbes, they will destroy you. And your microbes will destroy me. The words should have ended the discussion. Yet Daniel noticed something. The vents behind her were damaged, leaking smoke, and she was still breathing. Without protection, that gas should have overwhelmed her species instantly, according to the files he had read. But she was standing tall. He said quietly, "Are you sure?" Her eyes flashed, but she didn't answer. The station groaned around them, metal bending under stress. A piece of the ceiling broke free, crashing down between them. Daniel jumped aside just in time. Lyra hissed, her body curling like she expected the room itself to kill her. And yet she kept breathing the same air he did. They had no choice but to share the same shelter. The next corridor was blocked, and the nearest safe zone was hours away. Daniel set down his bag, pulling out what little survival gear he had. He handed her a ration pack. She stared at it like it was poison. "Your food will burn my insides." He ripped it open and took a bite himself, chewing slowly. "Then don't eat it. But if you collapse, I'm not dragging you the whole way." For a long moment, she hesitated. Finally, her pride gave way to hunger, and she took a cautious bite. She froze, waiting for pain. Then she blinked in shock. She was still alive. Daniel smiled faintly. "Guess it didn't burn." Her eyes narrowed. "This means nothing. Small things might not kill me, but real contact? That's impossible." Before he could argue, the walls shook again, and a pipe burst, filling the room with a toxic cloud. Daniel reacted instantly, ripping off his oxygen mask and shoving it onto her face. She tried to push him away, but the mask sealed over her nose and mouth, giving her clean air. He coughed, choking on the fumes, but stayed close enough to drag her toward the corner where the smoke was thinner. His chest burned and his vision blurred, but he refused to let go. When the alarms finally shut down and the emergency system cleared the air, Lyra pulled the mask off and gasped. She looked down at Daniel, who was wheezing on the floor, his lips blue. Her hands shook as she touched his face, something no one of her kind had ever done to a human. "You gave me your air," she whispered. He forced a weak smile. "Guess we're not so incompatible after all." For the first time, Lyra had no reply. She only stared at him, her chest rising and falling too quickly, her body betraying furor. Something else she didn't want to admit. The red lights dimmed. The station was stable for now. But in that silence, one truth echoed louder than the alarms ever had. The line between human and alien is not as unbreakable as she wanted to believe. The silence that followed was heavy, broken only by Daniel's labored breathing. Lyra's silver eyes studied him as though she could not decide whether he was brave foolish, or simply reckless beyond reason. No human had ever touched her kind without a protective barrier. No human had ever shared air with them, willingly risking death. And yet Daniel sat there, still alive. Even after choking on the fumes that should have killed him instantly, she whispered, almost to herself, "You should not have survived that." Daniel coughed into his hand and gave a weak grin. "Guess your data's outdated. Maybe I'm tougher than I look." Lyra's jaw tightened. Her people were known for their precision, their knowledge of biology carved from centuries of science. And yet this human had not only survived the poisonous gas, he had shielded her from it with his own oxygen. The action did not make sense. Sacrifice was not a word her people respected. Survival came first. Self-preservation was law. But Daniel had broken that law without hesitation. "Why?" she asked suddenly. "Why risk your life for mine?" Daniel leaned his head back against the wall, his eyes half closed. "'Cause that's what humans do. We protect each other, even if it means we suffer for it. And right now, like it or not, you're stuck with me, so I'm not letting you die." His words struck something inside her chest, something she had no name for. It unsettled her more than the failing station around them. She looked away quickly, trying to bury the strange feeling under anger. "Your emotions will be the end of you." "Maybe," he replied softly, "but they also keep us alive." Before Lyra could argue, the floor shook again, tossing them both sideways. A distant explosion roared through the corridors. Daniel forced himself up, his strength slowly returning. He glanced at her. "We need to move. The fire suppression system won't hold forever." Lyra hesitated. Every instinct told her to keep her distance. Every lesson from her childhood warned her that humans carried unseen dangers in their blood, in their skin, in the very air they exhaled. Yet none of those lessons explained why she was still standing, unharmed, after sharing a room with him. None explained why her body had not burned from his ration pack or collapsed from his microbes. And none explained why she could not bring herself to walk away. She followed him. The corridors of the station stretched out like a maze, half of them blocked by debris. Daniel kept his flashlight steady, his free hand pressed against the wall, for balance. Lyra walked behind him, her movements fluid and silent, like a shadow. After a while, she spoke again. "Your body should not adapt this quickly. The toxins in the air, the compounds in our food. They should break you down, cell by cell." Daniel gave a short laugh. "You sound disappointed." "I am confused," she admitted, her voice lower now. "Confusion is dangerous." He glanced back at her. "Maybe the universe isn't as strict as you think. Maybe it wants us to find ways to survive together." Her lips curved into the faintest frown. "Or maybe it is setting a trap." They moved on in silence, but her words clung to him. Daniel could feel her eyes on his back, measuring every step he took. She didn't trust him. Not yet. But she hadn't left him behind either. That was progress. Hours passed before they found a sealed emergency chamber. Its door was cracked, but inside the light still worked. Daniel pushed it open, coughing from the smoke that still lingered in the corridors. Lyra entered first, scanning the room. It was small, with 2 narrow benches and a single console displaying static. Daniel collapsed onto a bench, pulling his jacket tighter. His body still ached from the fumes. Lyra stood opposite him, arms crossed, her expression unreadable. "You are weak," she said bluntly. "Humans burn quickly. Your body cannot endure what mine can." Daniel smirked. "Yet here I am, still breathing." Her eyes narrowed. "For now." He ignored the jab and reached into his bag, pulling out another ration pack. "Hungry?" She didn't answer, but when he tore it open and placed it on the bench between them, she eventually picked it up. She sniffed it carefully, then took A small bite, again, no pain, no rejection. Her gaze flicked to him, sharp with suspicion. Why does this not kill me? Daniel shrugged. Maybe you're stronger than you thought. Or maybe we're not so different after all. Lyra chewed. Slowly, unwilling to admit that his words carried truth. She felt the warmth of the food spread through her body, something her people's rations never gave her. It was different. Strange, but not deadly. You said once that survival means sacrifice, she murmured. Daniel leaned back against the wall. I said, survival means protecting each other. That's not the same thing. Her eyes studied him, searching for weakness, for lies. But all she saw was honesty, raw and unguarded. Humans were reckless, yes. But this one was something else. Later, as they tried to rest, the chamber lights flickered. The faint hum of the station's engines echoed in the distance, but there was something else beneath it, a soft hiss. Daniel frowned, sitting up. Do you hear that? Lyra tilted her head. Her ears were sharper than his. She nodded. Gas leak. Above us, Daniel cursed under his breath, standing quickly. He searched the ceiling, spotting the thin trail of vapor. Without thinking, he moved under it, trying to patch it with tape from his kit. The fumes stung his lungs again, making him cough. Stop, Lyra ordered, stepping closer. You will kill yourself. Then help me, he shot back. For a heartbeat, she hesitated. Touching him was forbidden. Getting that close was unthinkable. But the gas thickened, and her instincts overpowered her fear. She stepped forward, placing her hands over his to steady the tape. Her skin was cool against his. His warmth spread into her fingers. Neither pulled away. Together, they sealed the leak, their hands brushing as they worked. When it was done, they both froze, staring at their joined hands. Lyra pulled away first, her chest rising and falling too quickly. This means nothing, she said, her voice sharper than before. Do not mistake this for acceptance. Daniel exhaled, still coughing lightly. Call it whatever you want, but you didn't let go. She turned away, refusing to answer. Yet her hands still tingled where his had touched. Then the next hours passed in uneasy silence. Daniel drifted into light sleep, but Lyra stayed awake, her thoughts racing. She remembered her training, the countless warnings drilled into her. Humans were dangerous. Their biology was chaos, their blood a weapon, their touch a contagion. But none of those teachings explained what she had seen today. None explained why her body had not rejected his food, his air, or even his skin against hers. Worse, none explained why her heart beat faster when he looked at her. She pressed her palm against her chest, as if she could will the strange rhythm to stop. But it only grew louder. Finally, she whispered into the darkness, though he was asleep, perhaps. We are not so incompatible after all. Her words vanished into the silence, unheard. But deep down, she knew they were true. The universe was shifting, and Lyra feared it was only the beginning. The following cycle on the damaged station passed in uneasy quiet. Daniel awoke to find Lyra standing near the chamber door, her arms folded, her sharp silver eyes fixed on him. She looked less hostile now, though not entirely trusting. He could see the inner conflict etched into her posture. She had stayed by his side through the night, not abandoning him when she could have slipped away into the maze of corridors. That meant something. You watched me sleep, Daniel said, his voice rough with exhaustion. I observed you, she corrected coldly. Your breathing changed at irregular intervals. I thought you might collapse. He smirked faintly. That's a nice way of saying you were worried. Lyra's jaw tightened. Do not assume concern. I only needed to confirm that your weakness would not compromise our survival. Daniel chuckled. Sure, let's call it that. Her glare should have silenced him. But Daniel caught something beneath. It's something fragile, almost curious. He decided not to press her, though the temptation lingered. Instead, he sat up and reached for his pack. If we're going to make it through this mess, we need to test something. Her eyes narrowed. Test what? He pulled out 2 more ration packs. One he tossed to her. Food, air, contact. If you're right about incompatibility, one of us should have dropped dead already. But here we are. Lyra frowned. She hated how his words carried weight she could not deny. Slowly, she opened the pack and ate. Again, no reaction. Her body accepted it without pain. She hated that relief sparked in her chest. "You are an anomaly," she said finally. "My biology should not blend with mine. Unless, what?" Daniel pressed. "Unless there is something the records missed. Some adaptation, some hidden link." Daniel leaned forward. "Then, let's find out." They began small. Daniel offered her his water flask. She hesitated before sipping. No illness followed. Then he asked her to breathe without her filtration device for longer periods. Her body showed no rejection. Instead, her lungs seemed to adjust, her pulse steady. Hours passed with more subtle tests. He touched her hand briefly, his warmth against her cool skin. She did not pull away this time, though her eyes burned with warning. "Still alive," Daniel said softly. Lyra pulled her hand back, her face unreadable. "This proves nothing. A touch is not union." He smiled faintly. "It's a start." Later, as they searched the station for supplies, they found an abandoned medical bay. The doors creaked open, revealing broken equipment scattered across. The floor, dust floated in the air. Daniel's eyes lit up at the sight of the remaining machines. "This could help," he said, moving to the consoles. Lyra followed cautiously. "Your technology is primitive, but perhaps it will function." Together, they managed to power part of the system. The screen flickered, displaying options for blood analysis. Daniel glanced at her. "Want to make this official?" Her throat tightened. Sharing blood was forbidden among her people. It was seen as contamination, a stain on purity. But curiosity gnawed at her. Every law she had been taught was already unraveling in this human's presence. Slowly, she extended her arm. "Do it quickly." Daniel nodded, drawing a sample with the trembling machine. Then he did the same with his own blood. The system hummed as it processed. Minutes stretched into eternity. Finally, the results flashed across the screen. Daniel stared in disbelief. No rejection markers. "Wait, look at this. Your cells aren't fighting mine. They're communicating." Lyra stepped closer, her eyes widening. The display showed strands of her alien DNA reaching toward his human strands, forming strange bridges of connection. "This is not possible," she whispered. "It cannot be." Daniel grinned. "But it is. We're not incompatible. We're adaptable." She froze at the word adaptable. Her people never used it. To them, biology was rigid, fixed, unchanging. But here, on this broken station, a human and an alien were rewriting nature itself. The discovery shook her to her core. She retreated to a corner of the room, her arms wrapped around herself. Memories of her people's teachings echoed in her mind. Humans were dangerous. Their blood corrupted. Their presence poisoned. Yet here she was, standing unharmed after sharing his air, his food, his touch, even his blood. Daniel approached carefully. "You're not poisoned. You're not weaker. You're proof that maybe we've been lied to." Her head snapped up. "Lied to?" He nodded. "Maybe the ones in power wanted us separate. Maybe they wanted to keep the myth alive that we can't survive together. Because if we can, That changes everything. Lyra's heart pounded. He was right. If her people learned the truth, centuries of law, hierarchy, and fear would crumble. Her kind's identity was built on difference, on superiority. To admit compatibility with humans was to admit equality. She whispered, "If they find out." "They won't," Daniel said firmly. "Not yet. This stays between us." From that moment, secrecy bound them together. They returned to the chamber with their discovery unspoken but heavy in the air. Each glance carried new meaning. Each brush of contact tested boundaries. They continued their experiments in secret. Daniel noticed her body adapting quicker each day. She could drink his water without hesitation. She could eat his food without pain. Even their skin contact lingered longer without her pulling away. One night, as they sat close for warmth, Daniel passed her his jacket. She took it reluctantly, wrapping it around herself. The fabric smelled faintly of him. To her surprise, it was comforting. "You are reckless," she said quietly. "Maybe," Daniel replied. "But sometimes recklessness is how we survive." She looked at him, truly looked, and for the first time saw not just a human, but something more. A bridge, a possibility, a danger. Her heart betrayed her with its quickened beat. She turned away, whispering only to herself, "This cannot be." Yet her body told her it already was. The station reminded them of danger the next cycle. An alarm blared, warning of power collapse in the lower decks. Daniel insisted they investigate, hoping to find a working system. Lyra followed reluctantly. The corridors grew colder as they descended. Frost clung to the walls where life support had failed. Their breath fogged in the air. Suddenly, the floor beneath them groaned and gave way. Daniel fell first, catching himself on a broken ledge. Lyra reached for him instinctively, grabbing his arm. Their skin pressed together, tighter than before. Daniel's weight pulled at her, threatening to drag them both down. Yet her grip held. She hissed in pain as sharp metal cut her palm, their blood mixing on his skin. For a moment, time froze. Their blood mingled freely, according to every law. She should have collapsed. He should have convulsed. Instead, they both remained alive, their wounds already slowing as if healing together. Daniel pulled himself up with her help. They collapsed against the wall, panting. "You saved me," he said breathlessly. Her hand trembled, still stained with his blood. "I should not have," she admitted. "I should have let you fall, but you didn't," he whispered. Their eyes locked. Something unspoken passed between them. Fear, defiance, attraction. Neither moved, but both knew the truth. The line between them was gone. When they returned to the chamber, Lyra washed her hands slowly, staring at the faint mark where his blood had touched her. It did not burn. It did not scar. Instead, it felt as if a part of him lingered within her. Daniel sat nearby, watching her quietly. He did not push. He knew the war inside her was greater than anything outside. Finally, she turned, her voice low. "You cannot tell anyone." "I won't," he promised. She nodded, but her eyes betrayed the storm inside. Every belief she had been taught was shattering. And with each moment beside him, she found herself less willing to rebuild those walls. As she lay down the chamber, lights dimming. Her final thought before sleep was a whisper she refused to say aloud. Perhaps our biology was never the problem. Perhaps fear was. The station had gone quieter in the days that followed, but the silence did not bring peace. Daniel and Lyra had established a rhythm, searching damaged sections for supplies, repairing what they could, then retreating to the safety of the emergency chamber. Yet beneath their routine, something unspoken simmered. Every shared meal, every brush of hands, every accidental glance burned with meaning neither dared to voice. Daniel had noticed changes in her. She no longer recoiled when his shoulder brushed hers. She breathed the same air without her mask. She even accepted his jacket during the cold hours without protest. To him, these were small victories. But he knew that to her, they were dangerous. Steps into forbidden ground. One night, as they sat together in the dim glow of the chamber, he decided to risk words. "You know, we can't keep pretending this is nothing." Lyra's eyes snapped to him, sharp as blades. "What do you mean?" He held her gaze. "We've proven the laws are wrong. You and I were not killing each other. We're adapting. We're connected." Her lips pressed into a thin line. She wanted to argue, but her heart betrayed her. She remembered the warmth of his hand gripping hers, the way their blood had mingled without harm. She remembered the strange safety she felt when he was near. Finally, she said coldly, "If my people discover what has happened, they will call me impure. They will strip me of my name, my honor. Do you understand what that means?" Daniel nodded. "Slowly, it means you're afraid." Her anger flared at the word. "Afraid? No, I fear nothing. But I know what my people will do." He leaned forward, lowering his voice. "Then maybe it's time to stop caring what they think." Her chest tightened. His words were reckless, dangerous, and yet they stirred something inside her she had buried long ago. The thought of defying her people had always been unthinkable. But now, sitting beside this human, she realized it was no longer impossible. Their fragile secret did not stay hidden. On the 5th day after their blood mingling, a transmission reached the station from the alien fleet nearby. Lyra managed to intercept it on the broken console. The voice of one of her commanders, sharp and suspicious. "Ambassador Lyra, reports indicate human presence near your sector. Confirm their elimination. Contact with their biology is forbidden." The words made her stomach twist. She glanced at Daniel, who stood beside her. His jaw clenched as he listened. "Do not answer," he whispered. But the voice continued, "If you have failed to maintain purity, you will be recalled and punished. Do not test our patience." The transmission ended with a hiss of static. Lyra turned away from the screen, her shoulders trembling. She had never felt fear like this, not even during battles, not even in the face of death. This fear was deeper. It was the fear of losing her identity, her place among her people. Daniel placed a hand gently on her arm. "You don't have to. Go back to them." She looked at him, her silver eyes wide. "You do not understand. My kind, our laws are not like yours. To touch a human is betrayal. To share food, air, blooded is unforgivable. If they learn what we have done, they will demand my execution." Daniel's grip tightened. "Then let them try. I won't let them hurt you." The raw certainty in his voice made her chest ache. No one had ever spoken for her like that before. Not her commanders, not her people, only him. From that moment, whispers of rebellion began to take root inside her. She tried to fight them, tried to cling to the certainty of her upbringing. But each day she spent with Daniel, those whispers grew louder. They continued their secret experiments. She began eating human rations without hesitation. She allowed their hands to touch during repairs. Sometimes she caught herself staring too long at his face, at the strange determination in his eyes. Humans were fragile, yes, but there was strength in him that no law could erase. One evening, as they patched another leaking pipe together, Daniel's hand lingered on hers. She didn't pull away. Instead, her breath caught in her throat. He looked at her carefully. "Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me there's nothing between us." Her lips parted, but no words came. For the first time in her life, she had no answer. Instead, she whispered, "You should not speak of such things." "Why?" He pressed. "Because it's dangerous." Because they said it's forbidden, or because you feel it too. Her silence was louder than words. The breaking point came when a small alien patrol ship docked briefly with the station to scan for survivors. Lyra and Daniel hid in the shadows, watching as her people searched the corridors. One of the soldiers passed close, speaking into a communicator. No sign of Ambassador Lyra. If she has been exposed to the human, she is contaminated. Orders are clear, killer if she shows signs of impurity. Lyra's chest tightened as if a blade had pierced. It, her own kind, her own soldiers, had been commanded to end her life for something as simple as breathing the same air as Daniel. When the patrol left, Daniel turned to her. Now do you see? They don't care about you. Not really. Valuable as long as you obey. Her hand shook as she covered her face. For the first time, tears slipped from her eyes, glowing faintly under the station's weak lights. She hated that he saw her weakness, hated that she could not stop crying. Daniel knelt in front of her, his hands resting lightly on her arms. You don't have to go back. You don't have to let them control you. She met his gaze, her tears shimmering. If I choose you, I lose everything. He whispered, maybe you'll find something better. That night, Lyra lay awake, unable to close her eyes. Her thoughts spun in endless circles. She thought of her people, of the honor she had been raised to defend. She thought of the laws etched into her bones. And then she thought of Daniel, the human who had given her his air, who had shared his blood, who had spoken to her not as an alien, but as an equal. For the first time, she wondered which life was truly hers, the one dictated by laws, or the one she was building here in secret, by morning. She had made her choice. When Daniel awoke, he found her standing at the console, recording a message. Her voice was steady, though her hands shook. To my people, she said, you claim purity is strength, but I have seen the truth. Our laws are lies. Our fear is weakness. This human has stood beside me, shared with me, and yet I live. He lives, and together we are stronger than apart. Daniel's eyes widened. Lyra, what are you doing? She turned to him, her silver eyes burning with defiance. I am choosing rebellion. She ended the recording and locked it away, hidden in the console's memory. She was not ready to send it yet, but the act alone changed her. For the first time, she had spoken the words aloud. Daniel smiled, pride flickering in his tired eyes. That's brave. Her lips curved faintly, though sadness lingered. It is not bravery. It is madness. But perhaps madness is the only path left. From that day forward, their bond was no longer silent. It was visible in every action, every glance. Lyra no longer pulled away when his hand brushed hers. She no longer spoke of laws when she ate his food. And when they worked side by side, their closeness felt less like an accident and more like a choice. Still, danger loomed. The alien fleet would not stop searching. And Lyra knew that once their secret was revealed, the galaxy itself would turn against them. But in her heart, for the first time, she did not care. Because with Daniel, she had found something greater than obedience. She had found freedom. The station groaned as docking clamps locked in. The alien fleet had arrived. From the viewport, Daniel could see their ship's sleek, silver blades cutting through the dark. They glowed like silent predators waiting to strike. The sight made his chest tightened, but it was Lyra's face that struck him harder. She stood tall, her silver eyes steady, but Daniel could see the fear she buried deep. This was her people, her commanders, the ones who had raised her, trained her, shaped her into the ambassador she had been. And now they had come, not to save her, but to pass judgment. The docking bay opened, spilling light into the ruined corridors. Dozens of armored soldiers stepped out, their weapons gleaming. Behind them came the council delegation, cloaked figures with masks of polished steel. Their leader's voice echoed, amplified by a device. Ambassador Lyra, you stand accused of impurity. You have shared your essence with a human. You have broken the sacred law. Every word landed like a blade. Daniel clenched his fists, ready to defend her, but Lyra raised a hand, stopping him. She stepped forward, her voice strong. I did what was necessary to survive, and more than that, Ty did what was necessary to save you. A murmur rippled through the soldiers, the leaders. Mask tilted. Save us. You spread corruption. The cure you claim to carry is a poison against our identity. Daniel stepped beside her, his voice cutting through the air. Tell that to the men and women you left dying. We saved them. Human and alien alike. Your laws would have let them rot. Our bond saved them. Weapons lifted instantly, aimed at his chest. But Lyra moved in front of him, her tall frame shielding him like a wall of silver. Lower your arms, she commanded. Her voice shook the hall, not with volume, but with authority. This human speaks truth. The soldiers hesitated, caught between their commander's orders and their ambassador's defiance. The council leader's voice grew colder. Your words prove your fall. Your body carries human blood. Your very breath is tainted. You are no longer one of us. Lyra's hands trembled at her sides. To be cast out was worse than death in her people's eyes. But then Daniel's hand brushed hers, steady, grounding. He leaned close, whispering so only she could hear. Don't let them take away what we've done. Show them, make them see. Her chest rose sharply. She stepped forward again, her voice unwavering now. You call me impure, she said. But look at your soldiers, the ones dying in the corridors. Look at your crew, their eyes bleeding red. Did your purity save them? Did your sacred laws heal them? No, only this bond, this union held back the plague. The soldiers shifted uneasily, their helmets turning toward one another. Some had already seen the proof. Lyra raised her arm, pulling back her sleeve to reveal the faint scar where their blood had mingled. You fear corruption. But this is not corruption. This is strength. My body did not fall when touched by human blood. It rose, it adapted, and it created life where death was certain. Daniel stepped beside her, lifting his own arm with the same scar. Together, we made a cure. Alone, we would have died. You want to call that impurity? Fine. But impurity is the reason you're alive right now. The words echoed in the chamber. The council leader's mask tilted again. Show us. Lyra's heart pounded. She knew what he meant. Proof. Undeniable proof. Slowly, she nodded. Daniel fetched a vial of the hybrid blood from their kit. He handed it to Lyra, with steady hands. She injected it into a soldier who had collapsed nearby, his body racked with infection. The room fell silent as everyone watched. At first, the soldier convulsed violently. Then, slowly, his breathing steadied. The bleeding at his eyes stopped. His skin regained color. Within minutes, he sat up, gasping for air, but alive. Gasps rippled through the ranks. Even the council members leaned forward slightly. Lyra's voice rang out. This is your proof. Our bond did not poison it, saved. Deny it if you wish, but the evidence stands before you. The soldiers began to whisper. Daniel caught fragments of their voices. She cured him. The human's blood. They live because of them. The council leader raised a hand for silence. His voice was sharp, cutting away the murmurs. Perhaps you saved lives. But at what cost? Our identity is purity. Our strength is separation. If we accept this bond, then we are no longer ourselves. Lyra's fists clenched. If you cling to that lie, then you choose death over survival. Is that your strength? For the first time, Daniel saw fire blaze openly in her. She was no longer the cautious ambassador bound by rules. She was something new, something dangerous and beautiful. The council leader's mask gleamed in the light. Then you leave us no choice. Both of you will be taken. The cure will be studied. Your connection will be destroyed. Soldiers raised weapons again. Stepping forward, Daniel instinctively moved in front of Lyra. You'll have to kill me first. But Lyra pulled him back, stepping into the line of fire herself. Her voice roared through the chamber, louder than any commander's. If you strike him, you strike me. And if you strike me, you strike the cure itself. Kill us, and you doom yourselves to the plague. Save us, and you save your people. The soldiers froze. The logic was undeniable. There. Helmets turned toward their commander, waiting for orders. The silence stretched until one soldier broke ranks. He knelt before Lyra, his weapon laid on the floor. Ambassador, you saved my brother. Without your cure, he would be dead. You are no traitor. Another soldier followed, then another. Soon half the unit knelt, their voices rising together. She is no traitor. She is our savior. The council delegation stiffened, their authorities slipping. The leader's voice grew sharp, almost desperate. You kneel before corruption. Lyra's eyes locked onto his mask. No, they kneel before truth. She stepped forward, her silver skin glowing under the harsh lights, her voice carrying. Like thunder, you may strip me of my title. You may exile me. But you cannot erase what I have become. I am no longer only of my people. I am no longer only myself. I am proof that survival is stronger than fear, and I am not alone. Daniel stepped beside her, his voice steady. We are proof. Together, the chamber erupted into chaos. Some council members shouted for execution. Others argued for study. The soldiers refused to raise their weapons against Lyra now, their loyalty torn. The plague outside the station still raged, and only the cure offered hope. Lyra stood tall through the storm, her hand brushing Daniel's once again. For the first time, she didn't pull away, not even in front of her people. Her voice dropped to a whisper meant only for him. This is no longer rebellion. This is war for the truth. Daniel's jaw tightened. Then we fight it together. Outside. The fleet repositioned, their ships looming like silver predators. Inside, the council's authority cracked under the weight of survival. And at the heart of it all, two figures stood side by side, human and alien, bonded by what the galaxy had sworn was impossible. They were no longer asking for acceptance. They were demanding it. And the galaxy would have to listen. The station groaned as docking clamps locked in. The alien fleet had arrived. From the viewport, Daniel could see their ships leak, silver blades cutting through the dark. They glowed like silent predators, waiting to strike. The sight made his chest tighten, but it was Lyra's face that struck him harder. She stood tall, her silver eyes steady, but Daniel could see the fear she buried deep. This was her people, her commanders. The ones who had raised her, trained her, shaped her into the ambassador she had been. And now they had come, not to save her, but to pass judgment. The docking bay opened, spilling light into the ruined corridors. Dozens of armored soldiers stepped out, their weapons gleaming. Behind them came the council delegation, cloaked figures with masks of polished steel. Their leader's voice echoed, amplified by a device. Ambassador Lyra, you stand accused of impurity. You have shared your essence with a human. You have broken the sacred law. Every word landed like a blade. Daniel clenched his fists, ready to defend her, but Lyra raised a hand, stopping him. She stepped forward, her voice strong. I did what was necessary to survive, and more than that, Ty did what was necessary to save you. A murmur rippled through the soldiers. The leaders. Mask tilted. Save us. You spread corruption. The cure you claim to carry is a poison against our identity. Daniel stepped beside her, his voice cutting through the air. Tell that to the men and women you left dying. We saved them, human and alien alike. Your laws would have let them rot. Our bond saved them. Weapons lifted instantly, aimed at his chest. But Lyra moved in front of him, her tall frame shielding him like a wall of silver. Lower your arms, she commanded. Her voice shook the hall, not with volume, but with authority. This human speaks truth. The soldiers hesitated, caught between their commander's orders and their ambassador's defiance. The council leader's voice grew colder. Your words prove your fall. Your body carries human blood. Your very breath is tainted. You are no longer one of us. Lyra's hands trembled at her sides. To be cast out was worse than death in her people's eyes. But then Daniel's hand brushed hers, steady, grounding. He leaned close, whispering so only she could hear. Don't let them take away what we've done. Show them. Make them see. Her chest rose sharply. She stepped forward again, her voice unwavering now. You call me impure, she said. But look at your soldiers, the ones dying in the corridors. Look at your crew, their eyes bleeding red. Did your purity save them? Did your sacred laws heal them? No. Only this bond, this union held back the plague. The soldiers shifted uneasily, their helmets turning toward one another. Some had already seen the proof. Lyra raised her arm, pulling back her sleeve to reveal the faint scar where there. Blood had mingled. You fear corruption. But this is not corruption. This is strength. My body did not fall when touched by human blood. It rose, it adapted, and it created life where death was certain. Daniel stepped beside her, lifting his own arm with the same scar. Together, we made a cure. Alone, we would have died. You want to call that impurity? Fine, but impurity is the reason you're alive right now. The words echoed in the chamber. The council leader's mask tilted again. Show us. Lyra's heart pounded. She knew what he meant. Proof. Undeniable proof. Slowly, she nodded. Daniel fetched a vial of the hybrid blood from their kit. He handed it to Lyra, with steady hands. She injected it into a soldier who had collapsed nearby, his body racked with infection. The room fell silent as everyone watched. At first, the soldier convulsed violently. Then, slowly, his breathing steadied. The bleeding at his eyes stopped. His skin regained color. Within minutes, he sat up, gasping for air, but alive. Gasps rippled. Through the ranks, even the council members leaned forward slightly. Lyra's voice rang out. This is your proof. Our bond did not poison it saved. Deny it if you wish, but the evidence stands before you. The soldiers began to whisper. Daniel caught fragments of their voices. She cured him. The human's blood. They live because of them. The council leader raised a hand for silence. His voice was sharp, cutting away the murmurs. Perhaps you saved lives, but at what cost? Our identity is purity. Our strength is separation. If we accept this bond, then we are no longer ourselves. Lyra's fists clenched. If you cling to that lie, then you choose death over survival. Is that your strength? For the first time, Daniel saw fire blaze openly in her. She was no longer the cautious ambassador bound by rules. She was something new, something dangerous and beautiful. The council leader's mask gleamed in the light. then you leave us no choice. Both of you will be taken. The cure will be studied. Your connection will be destroyed. Soldiers raised weapons again. Stepping forward, Daniel instinctively moved in front of Lyra. "You'll have to kill me first." But Lyra pulled him back, stepping into the line of fire herself. Her voice roared through the chamber, louder than any commander's. "If you strike him, you strike me. And if you strike me, you strike the cure itself. Kill us, and you doom yourselves to the plague. Save us, and you save your people." The soldiers froze. The logic was undeniable. Their helmets turned toward their commander, waiting for orders. The silence stretched until one soldier broke ranks. He knelt before Lyra, his weapon laid on the floor. "Ambassador, you saved my brother. Without your cure, he would be dead. You are no traitor." Another soldier followed, then another. Soon half the unit knelt, their voices rising together. "She is no traitor. She is our savior." The council delegation stiffened, their authority slipping. The leader's voice grew sharp, almost desperate. "You kneel before corruption." Lyra's eyes locked onto his mask. "No, they kneel before truth." She stepped forward, her silver skin glowing under the harsh lights, her voice carrying. "Like thunder, you may strip me of my title. You may exile me. But you cannot erase what I have become. I am no longer only of my people. I am no longer only myself. I am proof that survival is stronger than fear. And I am not alone." Daniel stepped beside her, his voice steady. "We are proof." Together, the chamber erupted into chaos. Some council members shouted for execution. Others argued for study. The soldiers refused to raise their weapons against Lyra now, their loyalty torn. The plague outside the station still raged, and only the cure offered hope. Lyra stood tall through the storm, her hand brushing Daniel's once again. For the first time, she didn't pull away, not even in front of her people. Her voice dropped to a whisper meant only for him. "This is no longer rebellion. This is war for the truth." Daniel's jaw tightened. "Then we fight it together." Outside, the fleet repositioned, their ships looming like silver predators. Inside, the council's authority cracked under the weight of survival. And at the heart of it all, two figures stood side by side, human and alien, bonded by what the galaxy had sworn was impossible. They were no longer asking for acceptance. They were demanding it, and the galaxy would have to listen. The chamber was tense, with voices clashing like blades. Council members argued over Lyra's fate. Some demanded her execution. Others called for her cure to be studied in secret, stripped from her hands. Soldiers muttered among themselves, torn between loyalty to the law and gratitude for the lives she had saved. Daniel stood firm beside her, his jaw set, his fists clenched. He had seen enough of politics to know that logic alone would not win this fight. They would have to risk everything: truth, life, and even love. Lyra raised her voice above the chaos. "Enough." The room fell silent. Even the council leader stilled, his mask reflecting her silver skin. Lyra stepped into the center, her shoulders squared, her voice steady as stone. "You came here to judge me, to call me impure, to erase me because I dared to live. But look around you. Without the cure we created, your soldiers would already be corpses. Your fleets would already be drifting tombs. Purity did not save you. Fear did not save you. Only this bond did." She lifted her arm, showing the faint scar of their mingled blood. The mark glowed faintly under the lights, a living reminder of the choice she had made. "I am no longer what I was, and neither is he. Together, we are proof that the laws are wrong, that survival is not about walls or separation, but about adaptation. You may exile me, you may strip me of my name, but you cannot erase the truth written in my veins. Daniel stepped forward, his voice carrying raw fire. She's right. You can kill us, but you'll only be killing your future. Because what we've done here it won't stop with us. You can't control it. You can't bury it. The galaxy has already changed, and you'll either change with it or be left behind. The soldiers stirred again, their eyes shifting between council members and the two standing before them. Fear clashed with gratitude. Law battled with loyalty. One soldier broke the silence, his voice shaking. My brother breathes because of them. If that is impurity, then I will follow impurity. Another raised her voice. My sister lives because of their bond. I will not condemn her savior. Soon, voices swelled across the chamber. Soldiers laid down weapons at Lyra's feet, kneeling one by one. The sound of armor striking the floor echoed like thunder. The council delegation stiffened, realizing their authority was collapsing. The leader's mask tilted toward Lyra. You are dangerous. More dangerous than the plague itself. Lyra met his gaze without fear. No, I am necessary. And if you are too blind to see that, then step aside. Because the galaxy will. The council members retreated, their arguments drowned beneath the rising voices of the soldiers. For now, they could not execute her not without sparking rebellion among their own ranks. But Lyra knew this was not victory, it was survival. The war for truth had only begun. When the delegation left, silence returned to the ruined station. Lyra finally allowed herself to breathe, her shoulders trembling. She turned to Daniel, her silver eyes softer than he had ever seen them. You stood with me against everything, she whispered, even when you had nothing to gain. Daniel shook his head. I had everything to gain. You. Her breath caught. For so long she had believed her heart was bound only to her people, to duty, to law. Yet here, standing in the ruins with this human, she felt something deeper, stronger. Something she had no word for in her language. She reached for his hand. Slowly, deliberately. This time, she did not pull away. Our biology was never the barrier, she admitted. It was fear. My fear. Daniel's thumb brushed her fingers gently, and now her lips curved into a faint, trembling smile. Now I am not afraid. They worked tirelessly in the days that followed, with the support of soldiers who had pledged themselves to survival. Over law, they spread the cure across the station, stabilizing both humans and aliens. The death toll slowed, hope replacing despair. Yet whispers spread faster than medicine. Across the fleet, the story grew. The ambassador who had defied the laws. The human who had shared her blood, the impossible bond that had saved lives. Some called it salvation. Others called it blasphemy. The galaxy itself trembled under the weight of the news. Daniel often caught Lyra staring into the void through the viewports, her expression distant. One evening, he joined her. You're thinking about what comes next, he said softly. She nodded. My people will not forget. Even if they spare me now, they will hunt me. They cannot allow what I represent to exist freely. Daniel's hand brushed hers. Then don't face it alone. You're not just theirs anymore. You're ours, you're mine. Her chest tightened at his words, but she did not turn away. Instead, she leaned closer, her head resting briefly against his shoulder. Then let them come. For once, I am ready. The final test came when a larger council fleet arrived weeks later. This time, not just to threaten, but to negotiate. Leaders from other alien species joined as well, drawn by the rumor of a cure that worked where none else had. The great hall of the station filled with representatives. Their robes and armor gleaming, their voices low with unease. At the center, stood Lyra and Daniel side by side. The council demanded proof again. Lyra provided it openly, showing their blood synthesis, healing the sick before their eyes. The gasps and whispers filled the chamber. "This cannot be denied," one alien representative admitted. "Their bond is real. Their cure works," another hissed in fury. "But at what cost? If we accept this, then barriers between species crumble. What becomes of us?" Daniel spoke firmly. "What becomes of you? You survive. That's what becomes of you. The plague doesn't care about your laws. The void doesn't care about your purity. Only unity will save us." The words sparked debate, anger, and hope all at once by the end of the session. The council could not reach full agreement. Some declared them symbols of hope, others demanded their exile. But one truth was undeniable. The galaxy had seen the impossible, and it could not be unseen. Lyra turned to Daniel as they left the hall, her silver eyes shimmering. "I have lost my people," she whispered. "I have lost my place." Daniel shook his head. "No, you found a new one. With me?" Her lips trembled. For once, she did not hide the emotion in her chest. She took his face gently in her hands, her cool skin against his warmth. "Our biology isn't just compatible, it's stronger together. You proved that. You proved me wrong." Daniel smiled softly. "I'll take that as a victory." She leaned closer, her forehead resting against his. "It is more than victory. It is survival. It is us." That night, as the station drifted under the stars, Daniel and Lyra stood on the viewing deck, the galaxy stretching endlessly before them. They were exiles now, hunted by some, revered by others. But none of that mattered, for in their veins, they carried proof that walls could fall, that fear could be broken, that life could thrive where once it was said impossible. She whispered into the quiet, her words trembling but sure. "Our biology isn't compatible," I once said. I was wrong. We are more than compatible. We are inevitable. And for the first time, Daniel believed the galaxy might finally be ready to change.